This is part 3 of our self-unit inventor project. This video tutorial we're going to look at assembling the already completed component parts into our final design. So imagine these are real wood joints and we're going to locate them together as if you would in the real world. So here's an example that's part assembled. So we have our different components. So we've created our top shelf, which is this one, which is the same as the bottom, and we've got our sides and we've got our two shelves here. So basically we have 1, 2, 3, 4 components and these are going to be assembled to create our final design. So first thing we need to do is create a new file. So this time it's still metric. We're looking at assembly 8 components, and it's the standard millimeters IEM one we're looking for, which is signified by the blue cube on the top there. So how this works is basically we're going to bring in the individual components and we use the place function for that. So we navigate to find our top, our shelf top. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this round so that Y is facing up the way, because that's how we're working. And I'm going to initially just set that current view as home, just so it returns back to that position. So second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place a second object. Now we need the sides. So I'm going to need 2 of them, so click twice, hit escape, and that is we've got two sides in here. Now what I find working with the constraints, or how we put the different components together, is a lot easier if you get these positioned roughly in the right place to begin with. So I'm going to use the orthographic side view for this. Up at the top here we have a move tool. So I'm going to move these into position so they're just a little bit apart from the joint, and I'm going to do the same on the top so they can line up. And this one here, I think it is, I need to rotate that around so that it's facing the housing slots are facing the right way. So turn that around so it's approximately the right position. Okay, so now we're ready to start assembling or placing these components together. Now the command that we use for this is called constrain. So if I click on that, a box arrives, and we've got different forms of constraints. We've got mate, angle, tangent, insert. They've got little diagrams on them as well, and they also give you a little bit of information of what they do. I'm going to use mate for this one because that's the most commonly used one. And you can see from these diagrams what it effectively does is it joins up to 2 surfaces or 2 edges together. So for example, if you've already positioned your different components together sort of more or less in the right position, it's a lot easier, and you find that it doesn't rotate around in funny ways. The other thing to do is what we're going to do is we're going to use obvious edges or positions which help us locate these together. You'll also need to rotate these round to pick the correct surfaces or edges. Now in this case I'm going to use this edge here. So I've got my constraint button open and I'm going to click that together and hit apply. Now as you can see, that has lined up those 2 edges, but you can see that's slightly offset. Now when you're doing constraints, you'll find that you need to add at least 2, maybe 3 constraints for each object so that stays in the correct position. You also may have to use different varieties of these or different types of these constraints to make it work. So that's my first one. This one here, I'm going to choose that edge because it's going to obviously offset. I'm picking the object I want to move first, and I'm going to click that second one and hit apply. Now, if I tumble this round, zoom out slightly, I can see that in this case I've done 2, and because I've chosen to two sensible ones or two obvious ones, that's actually worked well as it is with 2 constraints. Now this is part of the skill of using Inventor as well. A little bit of planning or thought in how you're going to approach this helps, along with a little bit of practice. So I've done that side. Now I'm going to do the other constraint. Now you can also, I did it that way, so let's try a different way just to overwrite in here. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the flat surface at the bottom of there. So I'm going to constrain that surface there. I'll have to turn this round, hit escape to come out of that. I'm going to click on that one, and that does a similar sort of thing. So basically I've attached that flat surface to that one, but as you can see that it's kind of offset funnily there as well. So same thing as before, I'm going to constrain that edge to that edge, hit apply, but you can see that is still offset, so I can choose a different edge, and in this case, because I'm using 3 constraints. Okay, so that's those 2 pieces have attached. I've also got, because my model was built correctly, I've got the right orientation on it, so my wide piece for my acrylics up top, and my narrower piece for my metal shelf is there. Over here, if I look at my browser, I've got my side and it shows the mates that you're using. What you'll find as well is if I save that now, I'm going to call this shelf unit assembly. I keep assembly in the title just so that you can, if the extension doesn't show in Windows, for example, you still know it's the assembly file, and that's the IEM, which is a different file format for that. So over here, if you're working on it, for example, if you realize that the way this has been assembled is not correct, what you'll need to do is you'll need to go into here and you can and delete these existing mates to carry on or to redo it. So if you end up with a whole load of these along here, then that's not what you want. So open that plus option there, and that gives you the different, and it actually shows you as well. Highlight that first one's the flat part, that's that edge, and that's that edge there. So that's our basic one, or the two sides I've done there. So I'm going to place another top in there, so if I go to my front view, or I'll go around 90 degrees, end view, so I can see that that's the wrong way round. So I'm going to click that and I'm going to turn it round so that the slots face the right way, or the rebate joint face the right way. Hit my home button, still a bit off at the top, so I'm just going to move that over. Hit the home button again, and now we can see that is more or less in the right position. Now it does make it a lot easier if you orientate it or move these objects around to the right place. So this one here, if I turn on the edges, you might be able to see it slightly better. Again, I'm going to hit my assemble button, constraint. I'm going to choose that edge there, and that edge there, hit apply, and I'm going to choose that edge and that edge, and apply, and I can see by tumbling around that looks like it's okay. And again on this side it's fine. So already that is assembled. So last stage is I need to put my two shelves in, so place that one. I'm going to bring in my acrylic shelf first, put that so it's kind of roughly in the right place, and I'm going to place in my steel shelf at the same time. That's roughly in the right place, and now I'm going to take that around so I get a better view of it. And again, I like using if there's a very obvious edge like that, I'm going to use that one first. So that goes in there, apply, and let's try this edge here, apply, that looks okay, and same with this one, click on that edge in there, apply, and apply, okay. Cancel that, and relatively simple constraining in this case. And that is my shelf unit design assembled using the constraint tool.